Hello, and welcome to Mushrooms in Ancient Civilizations. Today we'll be going over a brief description of mushrooms in ancient China and ancient Mayan civilization. Starting with China, while you might have been warned to not go around and pick up random mushrooms and eat them, so might have been the case for the ancient Chinese. Records of laughing mushrooms date back to the Qin dynasty, where while mushrooms might have been tasty, they could also be very poisonous. Records indicate that in ancient China, mushrooms were used for multiple reasons, like for spiritual purposes, but mostly for medical purposes. Lincture is a famous mushroom in China because of its health properties. Lincture is actually quite interesting, considering that while there is history of it being hallucinogenic, it's really not. Now I'll say that it's interesting because there are multiple stories throughout history, Chinese history, that hint at lincture being a hallucinogenic substance. But actually, lincture has no hallucinogenic properties, so it wouldn't really be possible for it to be a hallucinogenic substance. In the species identity, it is mentioned that in Chinese culture, lincture symbolizes happiness, good fortune, good health, and immortality. While it was surprisingly difficult to find accessible sources discussing mushrooms and lincture in ancient China, in Lecture 15b, Mr. Torwick's emphasizes that in ancient China, mind-altering substances were used for medical purposes and not for recreational purposes. So the use of lincture and other mushrooms in ancient China was very different from the uses that we commonly associate the substances with today. In ancient China, mushrooms had healing purposes and were therefore used to heal through medical approaches like metaphysical medicine, which through time evolved into manual medicine and then psychological. Pictured here is the goddess of longevity, Magu. In the image, we see Magu holding a variety of things, one of which is a mushroom believed to be lincture. Jumping over to Mesoamerica, the Mayans also used mushrooms as a source of medicine, but as I researched, I found its uses to be more for ritualistic and religious purposes. The use of mushrooms by Mayans was primarily for their hallucinogenic properties, as the hallucinogenic properties, like the ones derived from psilocybe cubensis or Kaizalach ocox for the Mayans, were particularly useful for ritual ceremonies and religious practices, since they altered its consumer's state of consciousness. The use of mushrooms for ritualistic purposes is depicted across the multiple mushroom stones that have been found throughout Mesoamerica, like this one, which is called the mushroom stone and dates back to 300 BCE to 200 CE. While the exact use of mushroom stones is unknown, we do know that hallucinogenic mushrooms and other substances were used by Mayans to induce a trance of visions that guided shamans in healing and directing people. Another use of mushrooms, which might be more intriguing depending on who you ask, was for making chocolate in ceramic vessels or jars, like this one. All in all, mushrooms in ancient civilizations were a crucial part of society. While they are a substance, mushrooms are a substance that remains to be used in the medical field today. Its role in medicine is nowhere near as relevant as it was in Chinese and Mayan civilizations, as their use was multifaceted and an integral part of society at the time.